There's a hand at the bar. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Khorata Mola and I'm a freelance reporter. I have two questions to His Excellency, the former president. Are we going to be seeing you in the next coming elections running as one of our presidential candidates, or are you done in the political ground? And then the other question is to our president, His Excellency President Dumabok. How are you going to be maintaining a good relationship with the press in your government? Good relationship with the press in the government, only in the presence of the president, but even in your absence with your staff, knowing that you are freely to do our job. For example, we had a scenario here this morning where we had to even beg, can we please do this? Can we please be here? We are here for the president. We are here to listen to the former president. But that is just not right on our side, or in how we're going to be relating with the government or with the government staff. We are afraid of having a situation where we are acting like Reshab, we are okay in the presence of the president. But when the president is not here, we are scared. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, may I take another question, sir? With your permission, sir. Thank you.
Dumela magolo ile ka ra madu nna dipotso tsa me di lebaganya le President Koko Reitso o moemela ditshwanelo tsa batho le nako a santse le private citizen o no o tsaya di-case tse dingwe tsa tsone tsa go emela batho gore ba golesege mo bong ja bone. Nngwe ya tsone e leng gore gampieno e gaukile go kgabaganya setšhaba e leng gore kgotlatshekelo e rodile gantsintsi gore batho bao ba lese gore ba tshele jang, mme ga go se go goroge setšhaba go na le se sengwe re gane se se dumelang. Yaanong ke kopa go itse gore a wena jaaka o le mo setilong ebile o na le dithata o tla ntsha molao kana referendum ya gore batho ba go nna jalo ba kgone go tshela sentle. Ya bobedi potso e ntse ta go wena mongadi ke ya banana. Ha o lebella dingwaga tse sothetse mo history ya rona, di-party tsotlhe di manifesto tsa teng di a supa gore ba letella political activation ya bomme, participation ya bomme le banana. Mme banana le gona gampieno ane ke dumela gore mo parlamenteng e tseneng ya gampieno ba kwetase ga bothano kana ba bararo go le holo. Re tla dira gore re tsenye political education mo setšhabeng gore ba thagalagana monana le ene o ka hirwa e le politiki a goroga a tswa ko university a na le ditshwanelo tse di lekanetseng. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much. May I kindly request that we pause right here and humbly invite President Boko to make his remarks. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
The question relating to the public service, are we going to see any movement? I shall not presume to say, but what is important is when you've only just stepped in, you do not want to be overly presumptuous about what there is. You afford yourself time to appreciate the lay of the land, as it were, understand who's where, in what role. The only thing I said was that we're going to have an agile government, one that is quick on its feet in terms of its responses and its interventions, and one that is compassionate. And I implored all those that I met this morning to strive to offer this. And so I will look at what we have. I will engage with the public service, and them and I and others in the leadership will take reasonable, appropriate, and respectful ethical steps to ensure that we continue to function. There was a question about automatic transfer of power. It just confounds me a bit, because I'm not sure what automatic transfer we're talking about. What we have here is power shifting pursuant to a popular decision of the electorate. Once that decision is communicated, it is credible, as we now have, power vests by reason of the outcome of the election. And that is exactly what democracy is about. That people have decided, and their will must be respected, upheld, and enforced, and that's what we're doing. Relationship with the press, it seems to me to stand to reason. It doesn't admit of any doubt that we need the press. We need a vibrant and ethical, a probing, sometimes unpleasantly, press. And that's what we call for. And that press must also be enabled by an environment that conduces to them doing their work effectively. And so one of the issues that we will debate is a freedom of information legislation to aid the press by availing information so that they can then operate from the vantage point of accurate information and not peddle fake news. That's what we want. Because a press is part of constitutionally entrenched principles of freedom of thought, freedom of conscience, freedom of speech. And as you know, in constitutional dispensations, especially in the United States, the most important right is the right to free speech. That's something that we need to understand. In terms of practicalities, logistics, are there amenities for the press? Are there chairs for them? Is there a separate holding area? Are they given refreshments? Those are matters operational that we need to address. And those will be addressed together with you so that we set the minimum standards. What is it that we want to see? How do we want? So that we also partners in shaping the landscape. And that I'm a firm believer in. Issues of sexuality, which are emotive, very controversial. I was involved in these matters as a constitutional lawyer, as a human rights lawyer, arguing about the Constitution as it stands and saying what rights does it recognize and give. I wasn't inventing and inviting non-existent rights and concepts. I operated within the four corners of the Constitution of Botswana to urge a position that says this is what the Constitution allows, and if we are prohibiting this, we are violating the Constitution by restricting the locus of rights that the Constitution grants. That was the argument. And the culmination of that argument was fairly recently somewhat narrower, and it was this. And in this sense, it was fundamentally not so much about orientation as it was about speech and association. And it involved the right of an organization called Lekhabibo to exist as a society under the legislation of this country and to advocate for a certain position that may be unpopular. That was the pith and substance of the argument in that case. It was, they say you are advocating for something that other people don't want and they don't like. The question is, should we limit freedom of expression and association on the basis that we do not like what this person wants to say? We don't want them to meet with this one because we do not like what they will say when they have met. That was the fundamental question there. And the court came out. It didn't talk about much. It said, doesn't matter how unpopular the views are, or unpleasant, unliked, they have a right to express. Imagine if you wanted to criticize the government, something that may seem very unpleasant to other people. If you are stopped, and the justification flowing from the principle of preventing Lekhabibo is, we don't like what they want to say, then we have effectively created a dictatorial society. So a democracy is much about majority as it is about the protection of any discrete and insular minority, so that we do not, in the guise of democracy, find ourselves operating a majoritarian tyranny, a tyranny of the majority. So this is what we are trying to avoid. And I think the rest of the questions call for the president. The youth participation. We will encourage, we will do everything in our power. Many people engage politically from very young ages because of influences that are around them. I would like to think now that our country has more than enough role models in the political space to inspire young people to participate. But of course, the subtext of what you are asking me is whether there will be any affirmative action for favoring the youth. I think there has to be somehow. We have to respond and make the youth visible in some of these critical spaces so that others may not just know, but see in reality and be inspired. We will try as much as we can to do that. Thank you very much. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Start with Charles, Telephone Charles. State coffers. I want to be very clear. The fundamentals of our economy are in place. The fundamentals are in place. What does that mean? Look at our credit rating, look at our rate of inflation, and yes, the GIA has gone down. And there's a reason for it. The diamond sales have been below expectation and not unique to Botswana. I can confidently confirm that because I spoke often with those who used to be my colleagues who are diamond producers. And these are cyclical. We do know it has happened before. And when it does happen, as is happening now, at a time convenient and necessary, you kick in austerity measures. The first time we kicked austerity measures in was in August, and then the beginning of this month, where you reduce spending, you slow down spending, so that you make sure that you are not depleting completely your reserves, so that you do not threaten the stability of the economy. And in so doing, we are assured that those programs in place to make sure that people first, livestock second, are assisted to survive, are affordable. And that's what I can tell you. Yes, we were almost at a zero rate the last time during COVID, because we spent money in fighting COVID when the economy was literally shut, unlike now. But thankfully, we built back extremely well. We were among the best to build back from COVID. And with those accumulations, we then started to implement the robust programs, particularly in the infrastructure space that we have right now. And they are going on. There's commitment to, contract signed, and work is going on. Clearly, among the things that new government will have to consider in the preservation of the economy would be to make a determination about those that were planned but not started. So they either stop them completely, cancel them completely, or slow them down. That's not for me to determine. So there shouldn't be any panic about the fundamentals of our economy. Rep Tifo Piachai of the Gazette. I think my interpretation of your question must be to do with automatic succession, as in when a sitting president gets to the end of his maximum term. The answer I have is because it's embedded in our Constitution, and the constitutional provision in there was arrived at through a process acceptable and in fulfillment of our democratic dictates. I think it is. But it does not prevent a reversal in the event that you think otherwise. That's the nice thing about democracy. You have choices. But I'm convinced this is what was wanted by the people. And those charged with the responsibility of effecting what the people want, as in amending whatever was to be amended, did it. And it's in place and works. If the question was, do I personally believe it, I would have answered it, but you didn't ask that. Another time. You also asked about the concept of acceptance. And in the way you coined it, what went through my mind as we were losing elections. Exactly what His Excellency President Duma described, as was expressed in my communication with him, is a demonstration of what was going through my mind. Is that what you heard him? That was what was going through my mind. I was losing the election. I was upright, very alert to it, but fully accepting that this is democracy. I was not in charge. I only had one vote. My vote is fact. My job was to accept it, embrace it, as I would have expected everybody else to, even if the outcome had been different, as we have been doing for the last 58 years. Why would you not accept that gompieko go jelwe rona? Re jelwe batho betso. Boletse matong kra ya lo gore re jelwe ke dithopo. And we'll accept it. Hara jwa ke sepegana. Ra batho ba le bantsi ba thopile go dumela se party ya ga Reboko e ne se bua. Ba le palo potlana e go tlase ga ya bone. E ba re thopa. Yeah, no, the interesting thing about the debate, first past the post system, that has resulted in us, though getting the second highest number of popular votes, merely the lowest number of seats. First past the post. It's very definitive. Yeah, proportional. Instability then sets in, and it's very costly. So I'm quite content that my party that I love dearly has only 4 seats. And yes, we'll provide a very vibrant, informed opposition. We will, rest assured. We will. But we'll do it nonetheless. I mean, le bone ba tle ba ithuta go busa. Kana re tla ba re etsa o se ka ba khalemela se ka ba go ganetsa o ntse o busa. No ya ga re sanele ga totona. Go rata molawa. Am I going to run in 2029? No. 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 But am I going to be politically active? I can't tell. But do I want to be president again? No. I am not wanting to run for the presidency. And I need to be clear and understood as to the reasons. Because much as it's out of personal consideration, they are also out of a very deep acceptance and realization of what we are as the BDP. We are a very dynamic party. We have lots of leaders, plenty. In our constitution, any president can only do a maximum of 2 terms or equivalent of 10 years at the helm. I did 6.5 years. So think of this. If I were to run again for presidency of this country, in effect, I would only be running to be president for a maximum of 3.5 years. Why should I burden the public with a hiccup of a presidency? Really? Why would I? Why would I burden my party with the difficulty of explaining that here's a president who wants to come back only for 3.5 years? Why would I burden my party with the accusations that would certainly come that you do not have the depth of human resources? And yet we do. Why would I go through the hustle and bustle of electioneering within the party? Why would I want not to live at this high moment of the highest expression of submission to democratic ideals and then muddy it with competitive intra-party politics followed by inter-party politics? At 62 years old, as I am, I'm beginning to feel like an elder. I've never understood, because this job saps from you. Now, naturally, now I have a lot of energy. I still do. I mean, I had enough energy, Your Excellency, to do the next 3.5 years. You just cut it short. But I've never understood why anybody would want to do more than that. I certainly am not one of those. So I will not present myself as a candidate for the presidency in 2029 or whenever a general election is held. This is it. Batswana banjele monate banjele botlhoko le nna ke banjele monate le botlhoko. I've been very privileged, extremely privileged. You know, kana gonela ke nna le ke ntse tautona le tautona bo. Two, this is rare. So why would I want to grab this when so many others could do it? So, my dear Rory, I am not running in 2029. That was all, Your Excellency, that was asked of me. Thank you.
There was another question there about accountability. And when I was dealing with the issue of access to information, in part I was addressing accountability. Accountability is about having full information about what is happening, so that you hold those who are doing it accountable. You know. And if you have access to information and you have a system that is open and transparent, that enables you to check and verify, satisfy yourself, then you have yourself an accountable system. And if anything should slip through, then you should have robust oversight institutions that will address any failures and shortcomings. And so we believe that we will enhance what there is, and we will do the very best in that regard. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President.
I can see you are desirous of continuing. It's hot. You are complaining about. I think you're also feeling the heat. We will have a full session where you will ask questions, we will respond, engage. You will have plenty of that going forward. In fact, in some instances, you may not even ask because the information will be readily available to you to do with it as you please. So would I kindly request that we close the Q&A here so that we give His Excellency a chance to go and rest, and the public officers to organize themselves for another grueling encounter with myself this afternoon, where they're beginning to do briefings to clue me in and bring me up to speed and bring everybody else up to speed while waiting for the new regime to take shape. We are agreed, are we not? Thank you very much. Don't say the men bulldozed. I request that. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. That's what you must say.
Thank you, sir. At this point, may we kindly rise as our President, President Duma Gideon Boga, President of the Republic of Botswana, and former President of the Republic of Botswana, His Excellency Dr. Masisi, take leave.
Botswana is not only about wildlife, but rather human life as well, and that it was through indigenous knowledge and practices to manage wildlife that the country has managed to conserve a large population of elephants. A hunting quota is a managed hunt meant to protect natural resources, that is, wildlife and their habitats, providing a high-quality hunting experience and maintaining a high level of safety.
I am the chairperson of community-based organization.